So with the final of the #1 football tournament in the world just a mere few hours away, today we will look back at the player of the year from every single campaign of the last 20 years. Now for those who aren't sure what the Champions League Player of the Year award is, well I don't blame you, because while it's not exactly complicated, it's just needlessly fucking long. But yeah, follow me here. So from 1997 to 2010, this award was called the Club Footballer of the Year. Then in the 2010-2011 season, following the merging of the FIFA World Player of the Year and the Ballon d'Or into the FIFA Ballon d'Or, UEFA in partnership with European sports media created the UEFA Best Player in Europe award, replacing the Club Footballer of the Year. And then it changed once again in 2016 to the UEFA Mens Best Player award because, well, I'm guessing FIFA finally discovered women. And while I certainly am delighted for them for expanding their general knowledge, I'd really appreciate if they just stop confusing the shit out of us low IQ folk and just stick to one fucking award. Like seriously, stop. Stop changing the name. Or else, I'm gonna turn more orange than this. You don't want that. So yeah, fuck all that. I'm just gonna call it the Champions League Player of the Year. And also, one, yes I know they claim to judge the players' contributions across all competitions in these awards, but when you hear some of these names, it will be pretty clear which tournament they do prioritize, especially during the odd years. And needless to say, the Champions League is the only competition I'll base this list onto as well. Remember that. And two, don't worry, I am aware that there in fact has been a separate award that's been created that's called the Champions League Player of the Year. But nah, I'm not taking that into account because, well, much like most of your intelligence levels, that shit is only 3 years old and it'll only confuse your infant brains even further. So yeah, instead, I'm sticking with the lineage of the other 3 awards. And with that being said, here is every Champions League Player of the Year, aka Club Footballer of the Year, aka Men's UEFA Best Player in Europe, aka UEFA Men's Player of the Year, since 2004, ranked from worst to best. Let's roll on.
Number 20, Adres Iniesta, 11-12. Okay, so I'm guessing this is one of the rare instances where they prioritize the competition outside the UCL. And to be honest, if my own list was based off the overall season, given that Iniesta did win a European Championship, he'd certainly rank a lot higher here. But since we're only looking at his UCL run, all I can say is brilliant for an average player, average for his brilliance. Number 19, Luka Modric, 17-18. Oh, for fuck's sake. Okay, you know what? I don't even care if any of you watch it, but I'm gonna have to do a World Cup Golden Ball winners ranking video very soon. Cause fam, this is like the 3rd or 4th video where I am in one way or another downplaying Luka Modric's 17-18 season, and it's annoying. This guy is one of my favorite players of all time, man. But yeah, unfortunately, much like his Ballon d'Or that year, he was also given this award almost purely due to the World Cup. Cause in the UCL, while still vital, he easily fell behind Ronaldo and maybe even Gareth Bale in his own team. But still, Golden Ball review coming up. Watch this space. Number 18, Jorginho, 20-21. Once again, probably not even the best player on his own team, and once again, probably was given the award mainly because of his summer exploits. But this time, I don't even think he was the best player in the Italian team. The reason he ranks higher, I do believe he was more important to Chelsea winning the Champions League in 2021 than Luka Modric was to Madrid winning in 2018. So much like the Blues in 2021, solid but unremarkable. Number 17, Franck Ribéry, 12-13. Okay, I'm starting to sound like a broken record here, but once again, not even the best player on his team. In the Champions League, because don't get me wrong, Franck Ribéry tore Bundesliga up that season and was no doubt world class. But outside that, not only did he miss a couple of crucial games in the domestic cup that season, but his displays in the European Cup, while stellar, I don't deem as important as Arjen Robben or Thomas Müller, particularly the latter who, as he has been for the majority of his career, was pretty underrated around this time. Number 16, Virgil van Dijk, 18-19. Finally a worthy winner. So in at least one of my previous videos, I made the mistake in saying that Virgil van Dijk captained Liverpool to glory that season. But honestly, can you blame me? Because while Jordan Henderson did don the armband and, don't get me wrong, is a very good leader in his own right, it really did feel like VVD was the one who was really at the head of the table. And without the presence of the daunting and dominant but defensively diligent and disciplined dynamic Dutchman, Liverpool would have been so lost that season it's not even funny. Like, people talk about the heroics of Wijnaldum and Origi in that Barca game, but let's not forget, this guy had Suarez biting a hole through his pocket for 90 minutes that night and still couldn't get out. I mean, if that's not saying a lot, then I'm afraid you might as well switch off now, cause I can't say any more than that. Number 15, Lionel Messi, 08-09. So, this is gonna be quite hypocritical considering I placed him as low as 15th, but yeah, this Messi season is pretty underrated. But as usual as it is the case with him, we must start by calming the pitchfork-wielding keyboard lunatics first. There are two main reasons why I ranked 08-09 Messi below the next two upcoming entries. One, I feel that those gentlemen played a bigger role in their team winning the UCL than Leo did that season. And two, despite stats being one of the things he does have in his favour, if you look closer into it, bar Shakhtar Donetsk, the only other goal he scored when his team weren't already leading and cruising to victory was against Bayern Munich at home. So there's that. But of course, that wasn't exactly his fault. This is the greatest side he's ever been in. Plus, he wasn't actually the primary goal getter of the team that season, because that would be no one. Honestly, no one. It was all shared, man. This was a proper team, I tell you. And Leo, while still being the best player on the team, didn't exactly stand out like he'd do in some of the seasons following this one. More on that later. But still though, a world-class season that's mostly overlooked, capped off by a brilliant header in the final in Rome. CR7, eat your heart out. But try to look away first before you start crying. Number 14, Deco 03-04. So much like the previous entry, this individual season is pretty underrated, but unlike the previous entry, this team in its entirety is extremely underrated. I mean, I've spoken about this briefly before, watch this video, but Porto in 03-04 were literally like 16 minutes away from clenching a treble. Mental that, and amongst all these largely unsung heroes was the heartbeat of Mourinho's Dragons, the man they called Deco. Usually playing at the head of the diamond and behind the front pair, the days of 4-4-2. Deco was involved in practically everything good Porto did that season, including a very cool finish in the final itself. And if you're looking to downplay the contributions of an attacker in a Mourinho team due to his stats, well, I don't know what to tell you except you're an idiot. And please try to come to terms with your idioticness before entry number 9 on this list. Would be much appreciated. But for now, number 13, Steven Gerrard 04-05. Ever since I began watching football, I don't think I've ever seen one player mean more to his team winning the European Cup than Steven Gerrard in 04-05. Cause much like Deco, Stevie was involved in pretty much everything good his side did during that UCL run. Except the difference here was, you know, these man was shit. Number 12, Cristiano Ronaldo 07-08. So as you all probably know, the 07-08 season was Ronaldo's first quote-unquote Ronaldo season, and his UCL run that year was pretty indicative of that, starting the campaign with a header away at his old stomping ground in Lisbon and ending it by scoring another header in the final to cap off a world-class performance. And sandwiched in between them were a few other very good displays, including, yes, those two semi-finals against Barca, a sign of things to come if there ever was one. Number 11, Ronaldinho 05-06. So this was the best season of possibly the most entertaining footballer in history. And while his UCL run damn sure provided us with a lot of those clippable moments, people forget but this was a pretty prolific run too. 7 goals and 5 assists in 12 games. And for those who only began watching football during the Messi and Ronaldo era, well, this is basically what a world-class season from a human wide player looks like. Though to be fair, when it comes to Dino, albeit for different reasons, him being human can easily be questioned too. I mean, just look at him embarrass AC Milan of all teams. Flipping hell. Someone check his passport. Number 10, Erling Haaland 22-23. The best goal scorer in the world, heading the attack of the best team in the world. Result? Monster stats! And it was. And let's not forget, Haaland only saw the final whistle in 4 of his 11 appearances that season. Yet he managed to cram in 12 goals and an assist in the minutes he was given, the highlight being the Zlatan-esque winner in the final minutes against his old club in the group stages. Number 9, Diego Milito 09-10. A very rare case of someone ranking in the top 10 despite being the second best player on his own team. Yep. So I've alluded to this already, but man, being a striker in a Mourinho system must be a trek and a half. You barely get service, have to spend the most of the game in your own half on the big occasion, and your stats are usually below expectations for a player of your caliber. So what can you do? Simple, do the job you were given. And this man did just that. Starting relatively slowly in the group stages, Milito eventually picked up the pace by scoring in every single knockout round, including a brace in the final against Bayern. I mean, if he did this at Pep's Barca, it would have been mighty impressive. But the fact that he did this at Jose's Inter, bro, that's elite. And speaking of elite, number 8, Lionel Messi, 14-15. The best example of if this was based on every competition, he would rank significantly higher on this list, because in what was his greatest season ever across all competitions, Messi's Champions League campaign was comparatively weak. And by comparatively weak, I mean 10 goals, 6 assists, and sending Jerome Boateng to audition for the new Spider-Man movie. Hashtag racial diversity. But as they usually do, of course, his stats and overall impact in games did dry out post the group stages. But even then, there were plenty of brilliant moments even after that. I mean, it's Messi, man. Every moment is magical one way or another. Number 7, Ricardo Kaka, 06-07. So this is basically the flip side of Messi's 14-15 UCL run. That is, while his exploits across all competitions was comparatively weak, Kaka's Champions League campaign was as good as anyone around at the time. So good in fact that, behind Stevie G in 04-05, this is probably the closest to a gigantic quotation marks one-man team you'll see on this list. And while that may very well be a tad unfair, watching Kaka make Patrice Evra drive his game-loving knee right into Gabriel Heinze's face and saying he was simply out of this world that season is as fair of a statement as you'll see today. Unplayable. Number 6, Cristiano Ronaldo, 15-16. Man, I kind of feel wrong putting this so low. Like, come on, 16 goals and 4 assists in 12 games, not to mention breaking his own group stage record and then dragging Real through the first 2 knockout phases. This was amazing stuff. But of course, I can't be a hypocrite, and given that Ronaldo was subdued in the 2 semi-finals and also didn't contribute as much as others on his team in the final due to the injury he picked up away at Villarreal in late April, he unfortunately does rank a little lower than he probably deserves. Still though, in a season where Real's UCL hopes almost solely fell on his shoulders for the majority of that run, watching El Bicho score the all-important winning penalty was extremely fitting, to say the very least. Ice in his veins, that man. Ice in his veins. His massive, bulging veins. Fuck me, did he swallow a fucking walking stick? Number 5, Robert Lewandowski, 19-20. You see Haaland's 22-23 season? This is basically the final form of that, because Robert Lewandowski in 19-20, much like Haaland in 22-23, led the attack for treble winners, struck fear into pretty much every single opponent he came across that season, even on a level as high as European football. The difference between the pair? Well, Lewandowski was simply better, averaging more than 2 goal contributions per game, scoring in every single game bar the final. Ruthless. Both he and his team. Ruthless. Number 4, Karim Benzema, 21-22. Is this my favourite season on this list? I mean, it's hard to say, but I'll tell you, it's pretty close, man. Captaining a relatively low-key Real side to Champions League glory, contributing with, yes, 15 goals and 2 assists in 12 games, including being front and center of those incredible comebacks against the Oil FC trio of PSG, Chelsea and Manchester City. Just incredible. If only Micah Richards was old enough to remember it though. Number 3, Lionel Messi, 10-11. Speaking of not being old enough to remember things, you kids seriously need to stop comparing Messi's 18-19 season to this one. Cause boy, if you did have long memories, you'd have realized how stupid it is to actually do that. Cause legit, of all the entries on this list, this one without a doubt more than any other would simply make you scratch your head and wonder, how? I mean, yeah, it's not all that surprising considering we have the most naturally gifted player probably in history. But you see, the difference this season was that Messi was wowing people on a regular basis, even in the big games. Cue his brace against Arsenal, brace against Real Madrid, which included that wonder goal, and his sensational all-round display in the final against United. GOAT candidacy confirmed. Number 2, Cristiano Ronaldo, 13-14. So earlier I mentioned that Lewandowski in 1920 was basically Haaland in 22-23 in its final form. Well, Ronaldo in 13-14 is basically final form Lewandowski plus a sprinkle of the Messi wow factor plus a sprinkle of the Ronaldinho school of freestyling on top of athletic / physical prowess, the likes of which this game has never seen. Simply put, 13-14 Ronaldo was basically the ultimate footballer in his final form. Like literally any team you put in front of him, he put down with ease. Juve, down. Schalke, down. Dortmund, destroyed. Bayern, embarrassed. 17 goals, 5 assists, and just a whole bunch of ankles being snapped. And as far as Champions League runs go, there's no other footballer on earth that could have topped this. No other footballer on earth. Number 1, Cristiano Ronaldo, 16-17, aka the Knockout King, aka the Game Breaker, aka Mr. Champions League. If Ronaldo 13-14 was the ultimate footballer, Ronaldo 16-17 was the ultimate cup player. Efficient, clutch, decisive, always rising to the occasion. Beginning with a free kick against his former club, again continuing with the all-round stellar display away at Dortmund, rolling the years back by working the wings against Napoli, and then, you know what happened then? I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. But in case you don't, here's where you can catch up. And that is that. Agree or disagree beats indifference. Once again, don't forget to like, comment and share. And of course, subscribe. Till next time, keep rolling.